National Signing Day for 2015, arguably the most important off-season day for Old Dominion University football. Hi, everybody. The 12th Monarchs out there gearing up for this day. I'm Ted Alexander with head football coach Bobby Wilder. You guys work 24/7 about refueling. It's the lifeblood of any football program, the recruits, and welcome to the finish line for 2015.
Wow, what an exciting day this is, Ted, and it always is, as you know, since we've been doing this each year, particularly when you start a program, and now we've evolved to FBS, and this is really our second full class of FBS recruits, and last year's class was the best we've ever recruited. It was outstanding. We saw 11 play from that class last year, including players like Ray Lowry, who was the Conference USA Rookie of the Year on offense. So we're hoping to find some more outstanding rookies potentially in this class.
How has the whole recruiting game changed since you got into Conference USA and played your first ever full FBS season?
Well, as we're learning, it changes dramatically when you're in an FBS program. Now going from 63 to 85 scholarships, the classes are bigger, and boy, the competition is bigger, as we found out in the last couple days. If you're doing it right at a school like Old Dominion University and you're recruiting the right players, you're going to have some Power 5 schools come in and talk to some of your players. And we've had some situations where some of those guys change their mind, and we've had just as many where guys have said, no, Old Dominion's my school, I'm sticking with Old Dominion. So it's exciting, it's more competitive, and I think this is a very good class.
Are you finding doors are a little easier to open to get in those living rooms than they used to be?
They are much easier when you talk about all of our games now being on television, most being on national television, having a game like we did with Middle Tennessee that was Friday night, the only game on, and then the majority, Ted, last year 11 of 12 were on TV. This year all 12 are going to be. So even when you're talking to players that might not be right down the street, they know, the families know, all the games are going to be on TV, competing for a conference championship and opportunities to go to some pretty outstanding locations for bowl games. That's all been tremendous in terms of helping.
When you talk about some of the numbers, we're going to also bring in the folks that came in December and the January recruits as well, because those are folks joining the program that we haven't heard about yet.
Yeah, we had 9 players that signed with us in December. They've been with our team for a month now, Ted, and I feel like after watching these kids, what they've done this previous month, whether it be in the community, academically, and what they're doing in the workouts, we're 9 for 9. All 9 of these guys are going to have an impact. And one of the big positions, Ted, in that mid-year was the linebacker position. You know, as you know, we had to replace good players like DJ Simon, and then we also had to build some depth. So it was critical to do well with those 9. And then these 17 we're going to sign today. That's a class of 26 student athletes, 15 on defense, 11 on offense. One of the big emphasis, Ted, other than linebacker, where we have 5 total at that position, counting today, was defensive back, and we signed 6 at the defensive back position, another 4 at the defensive line to make up those 15 players defensively, and then the 11 on offense are spread out throughout the position. So I feel like the coaches did a great job identifying the needs, the areas, and then the players that fit in to our system. This has got a chance to be an outstanding class for Old Dominion.
When you're in those living rooms, what's the one thing you say about Old Dominion in your program that gets a little twinkle in the eye of these recruits?
Well, when I start to talk about our 3-5-3 concept, when I talk to them about you're going to have 12 games, well, what's your life going to be like at the school you choose the other 353 days of the year? And when you're talking about this campus, this community, the beach, Busch Gardens, the city, the campus, everything that we have to offer, and then the weather, that makes it something that's very intriguing, not only for the student athletes, but for the families. And then the last thing we talk about is when they graduate, the opportunity to stay here and continue to work like so many of our players have that have graduated. That's very appealing to the student athletes and their families.
Sellout crowds probably doesn't hurt the whole process either.
Not at all. 41 straight doesn't hurt any of it.
Are you ready? Let's take a look.
Let's do it. I'm excited.
The ODU football recruiting class of 2015. We begin with Kesean Bernanrd, a 6'2", 222-pound defensive end from White Plains, Maryland, and St. Mary's, Riken.
Yeah, Kesean Bernanrd, a very dynamic player, Ted. When I think of Casey, I think of the speed that he'll bring off the edge as a pass rusher. An outstanding high school player, was an all-state player as both a junior and a senior, had 67 tackles and 7 sacks in his junior year and followed it up with a great senior year. Kesean Bernard's going to be an outstanding player.
Played in the Crab Bowl. You got to love guys that do that.
That's a big game up in that Maryland, D.C. area, and he had an excellent game in that game.
Jamez Brickhouse is a 5'10", 165-pound cornerback from Bayside High School in Virginia Beach.
Yeah, Jamez was one of the most highly recruited players in the state this year, had Power 5 conference offers, Ted, and he committed to us at our spring game this past year with President Broderick there, Mrs. Broderick. As you know, President Broderick's involved in all of our functions, travels with us. He speaks to our recruits when they come on weekends, and that made an impact on Jamez. This is an outstanding cover corner, Ted. Tremendous speed, tremendous ability to break on the football. He's the type of guy we'll be able to play man coverage with, put him on the other team's best receiver, and he'll be able to compete with any of the wideouts we play in our league.
Jelani Carter is a 6'1", 190-pound defensive back from Roanoke and Northside High.
Yeah, this is the first of safeties, Ted, we're going to talk about with tremendous size. 6'1", 190 pounds. I can see Jelani Carter being 220, 225 by the time he gets to his junior and senior year. He can get off the hash, Ted. He can come down, play man coverage, cover a linebacker, an H-back, inside slot receiver. Tremendous speed. And one of the things that really impressed me about Jelani is his junior year. Northside went 14-1. They won the state championship, and he was an integral part of that. Very good football player.
Nijee Cox is a 6'3", 235-pound tight end from Salem High School in Virginia Beach.
Yeah, Nijee made a tremendous impression on us in our camp this past summer. This is a guy, Ted, who was an outstanding two-way player, offensively and defensively. He was named the conference's Defensive Lineman of the Year, earned first-team honors in both offense and defense. So that shows the agility he has, the ability to be a solid two-way football player, tremendous athleticism, and as we're evolving, Ted, into more of a tight end H-back offense, we feel like Nijee's got a chance to be special.
Miles Fox is a 6'1", 270-pound defensive tackle from Lawrenceville, Georgia, and Collins Hill.
Yeah, Collins Hill, as we know, the home of Taylor Heineke and a couple other very good players for us. Miles Fox was probably the most highly recruited player that we had, Ted. He had a lot of big-time offers. He committed to us back this summer, stuck with that commitment. I see him as being a Ronnie Cameron-like defensive tackle. He's very explosive. He's very powerful. He'll give us that interior pass rush that Ronnie Cameron gave us in the years that Ronnie was here when he was a defensive player of the year in our conference. And Miles has that type of ability. I think he's going to be a fabulous football player.
Kyle Goddard, 5'10", 180-pound wide receiver, Lexington Park, Maryland, and St. Mary's Riken.
Yeah, when I think of Kyle, I think of speed and athleticism. He reminds me a lot, Ted, the way he played of Nick Mayers, who was a phenomenal player for us here. He can play wide receiver, inside slot. We can put him in the backfield as a running back, kick returner, punt returner, very, very explosive player. And he was selected to play in the Big 33 All-Star game, which pits Maryland against Pennsylvania. And when you're one of the best 33 players in Maryland, you're doing that for a reason.
Devin Hannan, 6'4", 275-pound offensive lineman, Belle Vernon, Pennsylvania, and Belle Vernon Area High School.
And Devin Hannan will be playing in that same game for Pennsylvania, so he and Goddard will be going at it before they become teammates. This guy, Ted, very impressive video. He is a physical football player. The way he plays the game, he plays to and through the whistle, outstanding technique. He's got really good feet, keeps a great base, does an outstanding job using his hands, and you can see the size at 6'4", 275. He's lean. He's going to be 300 pounds in a hurry. He's going to be an outstanding football player.
Talk about size at wide receiver. Eritreon Hayes, 6'2", 190 pounds from Dillon High School in Dillon, South Carolina.
Yeah, this guy was just a sensational player. He reminds me a lot of Blair Roberts, Larry Pinkard, guys with size that can also run, speed, ability to catch the ball. He was the offensive player of the year. He had 65 catches for almost 1,400 yards, 22 touchdowns, and just as impressively, Ted, in the state game, 5 catches, 109 yards, and a touchdown to lead his team to their third straight state championship. A very explosive player that can run and catch the football.
Gemonta Jackson, 5'10", 185-pound running back from Petersburg High School in Petersburg, Virginia.
Yeah, Gemonta, very similar, Ted, to Kyle Goddard. Their style of play, the way they play, they're both explosive. They can make moves, make people miss, and then they can go 70 yards. And what was really impressive with Gemonta is the fact that not only did he rush for 1,000 yards and 13 touchdowns this year, but his team needed him at quarterback. He also threw for 700 yards and 9 touchdowns. So that shows you the versatility that he has. Outstanding football player.
Kane Miskel, a 6'2", 175-pound defensive back from Kings Fork High in Suffolk.
Yeah, Kane, again, I'm talking to you, Ted, about the safeties that are 6'1", 6'2". Kane's 6'2", 180 pounds. He can run. He's physical. He led his team, Kings Fork, to a 10-3 record this year, and really impressive statistics, Ted. 65 tackles, 8 picks, 3 forced fumbles, and he took 8 of those interceptions, Ted, 4 of them back for a school record 4 touchdowns in his games. He's got a nose for the football, does an excellent job recognizing route concepts. He's got an opportunity, Ted, to be a big-time football player in the defensive backfield for us.
We continue with the Old Dominion University recruiting class of 2015. A.J. Oneal, a 6'3", 210-pound linebacker from Holly Springs, North Carolina, and Holly Springs High School.
Yeah, A.J., again, you look at the size, Ted, particularly the height. That's the one thing about this class, the height. A.J.'s got very good size. Physical player, and he can play sideline to sideline. He can run. He could be an inside linebacker, outside backer for us, because he's going to put the size on. His junior year, Ted, he had 90 tackles, 15 for loss, and 5 sacks, and he battled through an injury this year, but we got a chance to see him off his junior year, see him at our camp. Very impressive, and he's outstanding in the classroom. Everything you're looking for in a linebacker that can help run your defense.
Hasaan Patterson, a 6'2", 185-pound wide receiver from Westlake in Atlanta.
Yeah, another guy, Ted, when you look at the size, and again, I go back to Blair Roberts and Larry Pinkard, the bigger receivers we've had here that can be physical, go up and get the football. This guy's a dynamic player, led his team to a 10-2 record this year. A lot of big catches in big games. That's what impressed me as I watched all his games this year, week to week. The fact that he's playing against unbelievable competition, and he steps up and makes big plays against guys that are going to play at other schools, Division I. He's got an opportunity to just be a sensational wide receiver.
Kesean Strong is a 5'10", 185-pound running back from Temple Hills, Maryland, and Potomac High School.
Yeah, when I think of Kesean and watching the video on him the last 2 years, how explosive he is and the number of big plays he had, Ted. In his junior year when he was healthy, 100 carries, 1,300 yards, 24 touchdowns. So he's averaging 13 yards a carry. He also returned 7 kickoffs for touchdowns. He got injured during the season this year, missed the majority of his senior season, but this guy is explosive. He can take a run play, Ted. He can take a 2-3 yard gain, turn it into an 80-yard touchdown. Incredibly explosive back.
Hunter Sosebee is a 6'7", 270-pound offensive lineman from Tunnel Hill, Georgia, and Ringgold High School. A big fella.
He is a big fella, Ted, and he really fits the model of what we're looking for in offensive lineman, that type of size, 6'7". He's also a basketball player, very athletic at 270 now, Ted. He's going to play at 310, 320, big athletic guy that in our offense, as you know, Ted, our offensive linemen are in two-point stances. They've got to be athletic. They've got to be able to react to blitzes. We think he's got a shot to be just a tremendous offensive lineman.
Mufu Taiwo is a 6'5", 250-pound defensive tackle from Waldorf, Maryland, and McDonough High.
This guy reminds me so much of Eddie McClam and the type of player that Eddie was for us. Eddie could rush from the middle. He could rush off the edge. He was athletic. He could get to the quarterback. I think Mufu's got that same type of ability that Eddie McClam had for us. And as you know, Eddie was a great football player. I like the fact that Mufu played both ways for his team. That shows a lot of toughness. He was on the field all the time. I think he's got a shot to be an outstanding defensive lineman, Ted, and he's going to have the versatility where he can play inside or outside because of his athleticism.
Denzel Williams is a 6'2", 200-pound free safety from Dinwiddie, Virginia, and Dinwiddie High School.
Yeah, and the theme I keep mentioning, Ted, particularly with the safeties, all 6'1", 6'2". Denzel's got tremendous size, very physical football player, a guy who loves the weight room, loves to play physical in games. And as a junior, he led Dinwiddie to a 15-0 record and a state championship. He's a guy who's been an all-conference player, outstanding offensive player, rushed for 500 yards and 13 touchdowns. Brings a level of physicality to the position, but also, again, Ted, he can come down, he can play man coverage, he can cover a slot, a tight end, an H-back because of the athleticism and the speed. Going to be an outstanding player.
And there you have it, the class of 2015, the Old Dominion University football recruits. You mentioned it a number of times in describing these student athletes, the fact that they had experience in big games. Exactly. When the spotlight was shining its brightest, they were on that stage, not afraid of that stage. Was that important?
It was very important. Almost every one of these players played at the highest level when you talk about the competition they were playing against. So when you can see them do it on a big stage, and I mentioned so many of them that went deep into the playoffs or won state championships, or guys who won 3 state championships in a row, it shows you they know how to win, guys that have been captains of their team, guys that have played in big games. So when they get on the stage at Old Dominion, that's not something they're going to be afraid of. They're going to embrace it.
Now the calendar's getting a little shorter on us with signing day almost in the rearview mirror. What's next for the ODU football program?
Well, we've got our workouts going on right now, Ted. We're in week 4 of our 7-week program under Ryan Martin and Joe Makovic, and then February 28th, before you know it, we're starting spring football practice, and our guys are already excited and looking forward to that.
Coach, congratulations. You and your staff obviously worked tirelessly to keep the program on the upswing, and you've made it through another recruiting year. Congratulations.
We have, and I'd be remiss if I didn't thank everybody who was involved with us in doing this, from President Broderick and Wood Seelig and the entire athletic department staff, you, Brandon, Wendell, everybody involved, and then things that happen in the community with the 12 Monarchs of the fans. Just our guys the other night being at the basketball game, the recruits and the host and the fans acknowledging them. This is a tremendous team effort, and we're having this success because everybody's involved and everybody's pitching in.
You know, the nice thing is you never know when you're going to be making that first impression, which is nice. Well, if you're always making a good impression, there you go.
Exactly, and the 12 Monarchs are very good at doing that.
Coach, thanks for the time. Congratulations.
You got it, Ted.
That's Bobby Wilder. I'm Ted Alexander, bringing you the class of 2015 Old Dominion University football recruits.